And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just here and you were listening to our stuff and you came back because you wanted more. Folks, you are incredibly bright. That was a fantastic decision because we have a lot more for you. Got a great guest today, all kinds of things to talk about. Cannot wait to introduce him. Folks, this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, it's done by podcasters. And our guest today is, of course, you crack the code, a podcaster. Folks, this is the place where we come together to lift each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing. Introduce our guest today, the host of Inside the Firm and Monday Morning Coffee, co-founder of F9 Productions, and we've got the host of Fishing with Lance on YouTube. He's a professional fisherman. Also, he's the founder and president of his not-for-profit, the Longmont Community Gardens project. So, folks, please welcome this guy who's incredibly busy and still somehow made time for our show. Please welcome Lance Cayko to the show. Lance, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Rory. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you knowing ahead of time how to pronounce my name. You're truly a professional.
Thanks for that. Yeah, it looked like Cayko maybe to start with, but if you ever go on a podcast and they mispronounce your name, all that means is they didn't listen to your podcast before you came on.
Yeah.
So you need to bust them out for that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I've gotten the habit. We're early on in our show, like no matter what, I'm asking, please tell me how to pronounce your last name. Rehearsing, and my business partner's still trying to catch up to doing that. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, everybody's wondering at this point. We've talked about these things that you do, and of course, we have a lot to get into and talk about. Lance, tell everybody, who is Lance Cayko? What are you about? What brings you here today, brother?
Well, he's a crazy guy because I think he does so many things. And people always ask me, how do you do all of these things without burning out? You seem like you still have a pretty good balance to your life. You have a pretty good work-life harmony, is what I like to promote. If anybody looks me up on LinkedIn, Lance, last name Cayko, Cayko, you'll see serial entrepreneur is my moniker, and I truly try to live that. F9 Productions is our architecture company. F12 Productions is our real estate company. F14 is our general contracting company. Rory already mentioned the fishing channel. We do get paid and merchandise from that. I have the nonprofit, teach at 2 universities off and on, and still maintain a family. I'm 42. My story in all of those veins started when I was 13. I grew up in Northwest North Dakota, in between a sugar beet farm and a cattle ranch. And on the sugar beet farm, we were poor farmers. We were very, very poor, to the point where we didn't get those fancy sprinklers that all the rest of the farmers got to irrigate their land. We had to do it all by hand, manually. And when I tried farming with my dad for that one summer, I lasted like a week. He and I didn't get along too well. And I was like, the mosquitoes are just terrible there. It's 90 degrees heat, 90% humidity. I love North Dakota, but my goodness, there's a reason why I live in Colorado now. At the end of the week, I said, hey, this isn't for me. I want to go do something else. I'm going to call your best friend up who's a contractor. I would love to try building. I'd always been that kid who grandma always gave me a sketch pad, Legos, all that kind of stuff. And I really was just interested in builder, because I'd heard these stories about my grandfather too, who was a builder, and Grandpa Howard. He was just like, he built his own house. I was just fascinated by the whole thing. I called up Bruce that night and I said, hey, what do you got going on? I would love to come work for you. I'll do whatever. And he goes, oh, you can be my gopher. And I go, cool. What's that? And he goes, well, you're going to go for this, go for that. When you're done going for those things, you can get up on the roof and learn how to roof. And I just fell in love with the whole thing. It sounds crazy, but it's like we're waking up at 4 or 5, having with a bunch of gruff dudes who are probably hungover, tearing the roof off by 10 a.m., having it put back on by 2 p.m. I love the dirt. I love the masculinity of it all. I loved learning a skill, and I was so enthusiastic that I was the best dang gopher he ever had. About halfway through the summer, Bruce pulled me aside, and Bruce was also the first entrepreneur that I'd ever met in my life. He was first sole proprietor. My dad worked the farm. God bless him. My mom was just a dental assistant for her whole life. God bless her. But I didn't have these people going out there and winning work and doing all the things. Bruce pulls me aside because he saw something in me, I think, more than the other gruff kind of, the guys with substance abuse issues on the construction site. And he goes, what do you think I pay? What do you think I charge the owners for every hour of labor. I say you said pay you 70.25, and I go 7.25, and he laughed and laughed, and I was embarrassed, and he goes, no, 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 that's not how it works. He goes, it's usually 3 to 4 times what it is, and I go, isn't that stealing? Isn't that immoral? And he goes, no, 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 this is how it works. He explained, that the overhead included with that is like, well, there's insurance, there's catastrophes that can happen. There's a reward for me employing you and taking the risk, all of these things. And then I noticed the way he treated money versus my mom and dad, the way he thought about it. He just didn't have this anxiety about it because there was enough. It wasn't that he was out buying all these different toys and everything. It was just like, I really admired that he didn't have the cope that they had. One of the copes they had was they were like, having money isn't everything. And I was like, and only like 10 or 12 years ago, one of my favorite rappers finished that lyric for me, and it was, having money isn't everything, but not having it is. And I went, oh, that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking the freedom from anxiety of not having it. And I'm not even a person who is all about possessions and stuff like that. I drive a 2015 Suburban with over 250,000 miles on it. The front bumper is like broken. It's all good, but I don't have to worry about, $1,000 bill and stuff like that. At the end of the summer, Bruce pulled me aside, and he goes, what do you want to be what do you want to be? And I go, how about you? Like, how do I become you? And he goes, oh, well, you don't work for me next year. And I'll go, what? And he goes, yep, you got to go learn another trade. And then after that, you go work for somebody else, and you keep learning all the trades, and then you can become a general contractor like me. You can be a builder. And I thought now I'm a builder, and I think about myself, do I have sort of the confidence, and just to tell somebody like that? It was amazing. And so that's what I did. Did a different trade all the way up until I was 20, went to tech school for building construction tech, was ready to become a contractor, and these blueprints appeared. Our capstone project was build a house with your team in the tech school I was in. And the word architect popped in to my head. And I went, well, I really like school all of a sudden. I'm like totally excelling at this. What if I become the architect first? If I became the architect, I would get the clients first. I could flip it into a builder. Like, this is a 20-year-old brain. I have a 20-year-old son who does, there's no light bulb like that yet. He's literally sweeping a house for me right now, And so I did that. I applied to architecture school 70 miles north, got in, and then became an architect, came out to Colorado, got laid off. That's how we started F9, starved for a couple years, got on HGTV, did a design build project, got some notoriety, got hired by Subaru, built 2 more for them, had enough money left over. We bought a piece of land, because another word that I'd never heard before in architecture school that I'll never forget is the word developer came up. And I was like, oh, what if I one day become a developer? Then I could then I get paid 3 times, And if I hold the real estate, then I become an investor. All of these things. Then we eventually did that. Did our first real estate development, 2019, finished it. I'm sitting in the building as we do this podcast, our commercial building that we built. It's 9 units. 8 of them are townhomes. I own one of them. My commute every day is 24 feet. Another one, me and my business partner co-own. And then we put on the builder hat full time. So we do design plus build. And then at some point in 2017, we started our firm, F9, in 2010. It was like, the one term that a lot of business people know is most businesses fail within that first 7 years. And we got to the 7th year, and I went, oh, we haven't failed yet. We should tell our story. And that's how we started inside the firm, because I wanted to really give back to just these millennials and Gen Z who it's been pounded into their heads like the American dream is dead. And it's like, it's not real. It's just, you have a harder set of cards to play. Like, yes, you weren't handed the world like the boomer generation. It's still there, though. You just got to play that hand. And I want more people. So that's really the crux of the show, is we're just trying to inspire people and lift them up and show them a way that's maybe non-conventional towards business ownership.
I love that. That's incredible. When I was listening to the show, I wasn't sure who it was you were targeting, and now that makes total sense. Having heard that from you, I get that was sort of a missing piece when I was just, no, I didn't get to get deep into the episodes, of course, because you're doing research before an interview, but that makes a lot of sense with your content, with what you're doing. You had somebody step up and take you under their wing and kind of rich dad, poor dad you. Yeah, exactly. And so now you're paying it forward to these other folks, and the podcast is the vehicle to do that.
Yeah, 100%. I gave you a thumbs up there because of the Rich Dad Poor Dad because I only read that book maybe 13, 14 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
When I read that book, I went, oh, that's what I had. Like it didn't click until I got that, and I went, that is exactly what happened to me. Is I had the Rich Dad Poor Dad experience. I'm so thrilled about it. And like back to the podcast, I had lost contact with Bruce for maybe just a long time, and only about 4 or 5 years ago, his wife just found me on Facebook, texted me, and she goes, "Hey, Bruce was just thinking about you, and he just wanted to reach out." And I go, "Well, I'll tell you what, I just got out of this podcast interview, and you should just have him listen to it." And I told that story in more detail about Bruce. Very, you can imagine the kind of guy Bruce is. Big, big, big buff, like not afraid of anything. Builder took him to his knees because I think he just didn't realize that he had that big of an impact on me. But like I mean, all of my father figures, positive ones, he might be the shining star because I just don't think I would be there. Now we're in close contact. Almost every day. Sometimes when we come standing, I'm asking him questions that just come up on building sites because it's chaos.
Hmm.
With and I think when Bruce saw that episode, he didn't realize how big of an impact he had on me, which is just amazing because I mean I didn't how would I ever get in front of him like that if it wasn't just kind of that perfect timing.
Right.
So I'm just really thankful to have him back in my life. I text him ever since he saw that episode kind of every day, or at least every week, and I'm asking him very difficult questions from a young builder's standpoint. I mean, he's been doing it twice as long as I have, and super helpful, super helpful. So yeah, that's just another reason why, like, if I wasn't a podcaster, I'm not sure I'd be getting that story out to him even or of the public and beyond and talking about it that way. So there's just been so many benefits to doing the show, being on other shows. It's been mostly positive. 99% there.
No, I love that. Now I am curious, because you've got all the history and everything else. So I understand the why behind what it is you're doing, but why podcasting as the medium? Because you could have done a lot of different things to spread your word, but you chose podcasting. Curious how that came to be.
Well, I like to believe that if I'm 42, I'm sort of on that edge of millennial is right. So you're like part Gen X, part millennial, and we're addicted to. I was at one point for sure addicted to podcasts. Just couldn't get enough of the long form content. Average, and I would looking up to guys like Joe Rogan and just really getting in the groove. And it was like, gosh, I feel like we have an interesting story here. This seems like an interesting story. It seems like we should tell it. And I just didn't want to let it die in the ether. I want to be able to make it so I've told my children, like, they don't like it when I say this, but I go, don't worry, like when I'm dead, you can just turn me on. It's all good. You'll be able to hear me.
Nice.
So yeah, so we really wanted to when we started the show, like if you started episode 0 of ours, we introduced the whole idea behind the podcast, and we say like, look, we're gonna go back in time to when we first started the firm, what it was like to get laid off in the Great Recession, how we gained our first clients in a very guerrilla marketing type of way. It was totally not normal. It was just out of the box. And we're going to tell you how we did it. Instead of a garage startup, we were in Alex's apartment and really just rip the Band-Aid off and open up, horror stories, even positive stories. A lot of architects up until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when we were about halfway through our 700 episodes, they were really close vested. That's sort of been a symptom of our profession. Is I think sometimes a lot of times they think it's a clients are very scarce. There's a lot more architects than there are architectural jobs. It is a sexy profession. Even George Costanza wanted to be an architect, remember?
Right.
So we wanted to just do the opposite. I mean, I've always thought of myself, my preferred pronouns, it's hilarious on LinkedIn, are positive reactionary. Because every time something negative happens, like getting laid off like that, I mean, I was completely devastated. I got a sort of a dream job coming out of North Dakota State architecture, moving down to the Boulder area, beautiful, working on Pearl Street, working for the Young Architects of the Year in Colorado, and very boutique, prominent firm, hard to get internship. My business partner Alex Gore went out to New York City and worked for world famous Daniel Libeskind, who originally designed the World Trade Centers after they were destroyed in 9/11. We were cloud nine, and then all of a sudden the rug got pulled from us, and it was like, if we can rise from the ashes, I would like to share that with story with other people and be a positive reactionary. And we've always sort of been contrarians and do the opposite, and that's primarily the reason. So, after a while, I can't remember at what episode. Maybe it was like episode 100 or 50 or something like that early on in the show. We had caught everybody up, right? From like 2010 to 2017, because that's when we started the show, was 2017. So we had to sort of like backtrack. I just didn't want to lose track of it. I wanted to catalog in some way. And I thought, like, if I can record the audio and the video, that'll be more helpful. And actually, one of my goals this summer is to try to take all the audio and sort of start some books. One that is, and pull it down, transcribe it, use some Chat GPT and Grok to help me outline the book, write it in a certain way, and have these other two books where one is just kind of business advice with Monday Morning Coffee, and the other one is our story, sort of like a self autobiography, because we already did it, we already talked about it. Once we started kind of running out of like, hey, now we're here, it's 2017, then it became sort of a daily, here's what Lance and Al are up to. Because in business, it's so interesting. I mean, we're dealing with the general public over and over and over again. We mostly have private sector clients. We don't name names or anything like that. But we tell the stories, the hard stories that I think a lot of people are just like dying to hear. It's like, you don't go to architecture school and learn how to do business. You don't even go to like general contracting, if there is a school, which is rare to find, like I did,
Yeah.
how to do the business. You learn how to do the things. The business side is like you learn in business. And we wanted to lay all of that bare. We told basically I think one year was just nonstop. We were talking about leading up to how to become a developer, the steps we were taking. We didn't have any money, but we had this land. Like, how do you get a loan for $3 million? How do you become a general contractor with not a lot of built work and convince a city to give you a license? How do you, and then once we started the development, told the whole development story, the trials and tribulations. At one point, I was working like 80 hours, or sorry, 80 days in a row, and
Okay.
just walking people through all that kind of stuff. Then we got past the development and started building. And then, like what you were saying before we started recording, the one of our most recent episodes is like our general contractors, used car salesmen. I'm just there's constantly content to talk about and keep people informed and enlightened. And one of the coolest things is, like, we do have fans. I mean, we're not celebrities, but when I get that email or that text or that call, or even sometimes people have like stopped by the office on their way through Kansas and stuff like that. Hey, I just wanted to meet you. I just wanted to talk to you. Thank you for inspiring me to start a business. Like, thank you for inspiring me to become an architect plus a builder. Those kind of things, I'm just like, oh wow, it is real. I mean, it becomes real. He's talking to this microphone, right? And you go, nobody's talking back. And then every once in a while it becomes really, really real. I mean, sometimes it's a little creepy because I've been out like on a hiking trail with my wife, and you get recognized, and I'm like, I don't know who that was. Like, I have no idea who that was, type of thing. Again, like, if anything, I'll have a class D celebrity maybe, but man, it's just been a really cool ride in that way. And that's not even talking about like what has me doing the interviews in the Monday morning show kind of has done for my life. It's just outwardly from the original show inside the firm has been just super interesting, super rewarding. Sometimes we want to give up. I won't lie about that. Like, it gets taxing. It's to do it every Friday, every for 8 years now is a lot. I think about the number 1,000 a lot, and I go, is that when you just are done? Is that when you're not done? But then all of a sudden something will happen like that, or we'll get rewarded, or we've even gotten a lot of business because of the thing, where people just find us in that way and they want to work with us. So
Nice. Nice. One of the things I hear from people who have a situation like yours, where it's your business and it's your podcast, and the two are kind of working hand in hand the way yours does, so very well, is that there's just such an increase in credibility by having the podcast, and I'm assuming that you find that as well.
100%, yeah, it's an authority. It's an authority in the space. Like you're a trusted voice in the space, and that's one of the reasons why I started guesting on the shows. Well, the primary reason why I started guesting about 2 years ago. And I think I've been on maybe 100 different shows or something like that. And what's I wanted to do it primarily because I was like, I hit 40 and I felt like I got enough gray hair. Like I got some advice, I got some wisdom. I feel like I'm an adult now. And maybe I have something to share just personally. So I started telling a lot more personal stories about like when I found my real dad when I was 33, total surprise there. Um, how my morning routine, which has been very critical to the success of my life and trying to be able to do all of these things at once. The architect, the builder, the fisherman, all that kind of stuff. And then there's the caveat of like, well, now all of a sudden if you just Google me, like if somebody comes to the firm and they find the website and they go like, well, what's this background of this person? You look like this voice of reason and authority and that you know what you're talking about. You do. I mean, you can't really fake shows. It won't be a really long episode. I've had those guests before and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not what you think it is, I think. Because I thought one of the things I was hoping for was like, well, yeah, we should get paid to talk. What a cool thing. Like because I'm obsessed as an entrepreneur, like I should get paid to do everything, paid to fish.
Right.
And we have had sponsors and we still have sponsors. It just pays the bills. Like no one's getting, folks like me anyway. I'm not getting rich off of it. But it's something that just keeps us going and it's motivating. And it's also, I think, made me a better public speaker. That's one of the most interesting things about starting a podcast is like, I think when you do those first 100 episodes, you got to listen to yourself and you will hate your voice. Like almost everybody hates their voice. I hated it. I don't hate it anymore. It's okay. It doesn't bug me anymore. Same thing when you watch yourself on television, having been on television. You hate the way you look. It's over after a while. And like my children, they've seen me speak in public because we get speaking gigs and people have us up on stage and there's 500 people there, 1,000, whatever. My mom, she's terrified of public speaking. How do you do it? And I go, you just do it a lot until it feels normal, and then you don't get nervous anymore, and then you just keep doing it.
Nice. I love getting the backup from someone like you who's got over 700 episodes out there combined published. Um, you know, I say that to all of my students because I coach podcasters, and so I'm always telling people, listen to your episode. Like the final product, once it comes out on Spotify or wherever it is, listen to it like you're a fan because you're going to catch all kinds of stuff there that you're not going to hear when you're editing. You're listening in two different ways. You're listening for different things. And when you listen like a fan, you're going to be like, oh, wow, why didn't I follow up on that question? Or, why didn't I go this way? So I appreciate that little piece of advice right there to back that up because I say it all the time, but listen to your stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think everybody hates their voice at some point,
Hmm.
you know,
Definitely.
so everybody has an episode one also. So it's like, look,
Yeah.
first episode's terrible. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be a good thing.
No, yeah.
But no, that's great. The morning coffee, Monday morning coffee, that is strictly an interview show.
Yep.
Okay. And the
Yep.
people you bring on that then are folks that are in the building space or folks that are just in the entrepreneurial space.
Oh man, I have folks in no space. I got folks in every space. Yeah. When I first set out, I think it was the idea was we got to about episode 350 or not 350. We got about halfway through the 8 year stint so far, about year 4 and with inside the firm. And I was like, man, I feel like I want to broaden the audience. It would be nice to bring in entrepreneurs. To, People have heard enough of us. And I was like, they've heard enough of us. They should hear perspective from somebody else. And maybe I'll learn from interviewing people. And so that's what started that show. So that what I do is I did focus on local business people too, which is very difficult actually to get on. People like come into the office, drive through the Denver traffic, please. I'm not paying you for this. Thank you. It'll, maybe help your business. I don't know. And then a lot of people are just not. You sometimes lose sight of like I like to talk about me and what I do, but not everybody. So
Right.
those first guests, like you said, everybody said it as episode one. Some of those first Monday morning shows, in hindsight, I'm like, man, I almost feel like I forced that person on. You could tell they were nervous. It's like, chill. We're not live. We're not even live, and there'll be editing and all that kind of good stuff in the end. And then the episode now that show has evolved into I just want interesting people. I have all kinds of people who are just maybe they're public speakers, they're like spiritual healers. Some of my friends come on and talk about like my friend John Kyle. I think it was the longest episode we've done. It was almost like a Joe Rogan level, like 300 episode, like a 3 hour one.
Yeah.
And he told me all about his failed hemp business farm, which was just amazing and like a wild story to hear about. But it was entertaining. And that's where the show is now. So I'm just really looking for people that are unique, and I want to hear different perspectives. I want to hear why they seem to be successful in whatever they're doing. Like they don't have to be this big CEO. They could just be like a somebody who goes out and helps with like other people with their health or something like that. And the little habits, and one of the through lines I think that I've noticed with everybody is like the successful people are organized and they have a routine, and there's usually a pretty good morning routine about them and how they do things. And the other big one is I always ask on that show, at the end I always ask every guest, I go going back in time to when you first started, what you're doing. What is one piece of advice you give yourself? And the through line there over and over again is I would have started fast. I would have started earlier. I would have went harder. I wouldn't have been so afraid.
Right.
And I'm like, oh gosh, it's so true. Like if there's any regrets in life for successful people, it's just they're like, I should have just done it sooner. Even one of my colleagues, Nate Hacker, he just started his architecture firm about 2 years ago. So he's way behind me and Al in terms of like a decade, right? It took him forever, and I tried to convince him to do it. One day out of the blue, he texts me and goes, "You're right. I should have. When you told me like 5 years ago, I should. I don't know why I didn't do it. I should have done it." And it's been really interesting to hear that perspective. So I guess it's kind of like having another Al on the show every time, just a fresh face to bounce ideas off of and hear from in that kind of a way. I've had my wife on multiple times. Like she's a realtor,
Okay.
and her perspective on real estate is just fascinating. She's an investor. There was a big law that came out last year, and stuff like that.
Wow. And that's all right. You have everybody from everywhere
Yeah.
coming on. That's great. But that must make it not too tough to find guests then, huh?
No, 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 no,
No.
not at all. I mean, Podmatch has like saved my life. Not saved my changed my life.
Yeah.
We became like a Podmatch member, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, because I was having trouble uh, booking those guests locally, and I was like, there's got to be something else for this. And now all of a sudden we're booked out for a year, and it's hard for people to get on the show. And I often have to, they go, "Is this all you have open?" I'm like, "Yeah, 8 months. Like, I know you're an author and you want to get on. I don't want to be that person that like charges the money. I want it to be free flowing, and I don't want it to be contrived or anything like that." So it's in high demand for being such a general. That I think that's maybe one of our downfalls, for better or for worse, is like even when they go to our website and architecture, some architects are just like, we just do modern, or we just do traditional, and that's all we do, or we just do Costco's, and we're like, I don't know, we kind of like to do everything. Like we're a jack of all trades, master of none, and sort of the show is sort of like that too. It just keeps it fresh. Like I don't want to ever be this boring person, or professional, and I just kind of strive for that.
Yeah, no, I love it. Podmatch is certainly a great tool, and obviously it's where you and I met. But I'm a recent addition to Podmatch. because I've been doing all this on my own for years and years and years. But there is there's a good quality of podcaster and guest also on Podmatch. That there's something about the vetting process or wanting it bad enough that maybe a little more professional, that
Hmm.
type of thing. But working with the folks on Podmatch has been a very good experience by and large,
Yeah.
for me as well. So I second the motion. And Alex, thank you from both of us. Appreciate you
Yeah.
for building the platform. I had him on the show a little while ago. So
Oh, cool. He texted me the other day on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, man, I didn't know you were an architect." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're gonna do my house in a couple years." I go, "Cool." So we got now that it's out loud, that's got to happen. I would love
that's
to do the
great.
Pod Match Master House. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You'd get all kinds of publicity out of that too for
There you
him.
go.
He'd
See,
be
and look at
sharing
that.
you
Look
every day.
exactly. Look over. See, it all comes around. Like I would have never guessed that. If I would have, there's no, how could I guess that in 2010 that that's kind of where it would have led me? Absolutely no way.
Right.
There's no way. There's no way. The other thing too is like all the I don't like there's a lot of authors that want to be on the show or business coaches and stuff like that. And I screen pretty hard because they got to be unique. They got to be something where I feel like I'm gonna get something out of it too. Because I know that my audience is a lot like me, and why they're listening to those shows is they want those particular episodes is that they want something unique, something new. They want to unlock something that they hadn't thought about. And there's been enough authors that I really piqued my interest that I've had on to where like I've had the author of Hold the Calm and Train Your Empathy on two different books. Those ones, for example, changed my life. And that author was so compelling telling about why they made the book. Halfway through the episode, like it's been 4 or 5 times I've done this. I go, I just bought your book on Audible. Like, thank you. Like, and then I read it over the weekend. I'm like, oh my God, this is like life changing kind of material. How would I have gotten to that book before? Probably not. Probably not unless I hadn't been interviewing that person who was kind of piquing my interest.
Yeah, for sure. I've done the same thing with books. I know exactly what you're talking about. That is a great aspect of hosting the podcast, of course. You brought up a great point about guesting on a podcast, and that is that as podcasters, we assume everybody's okay with coming on and talking, and sharing their lives like we do. And then you get the guest who comes on and has no intention of doing that. And so as a podcaster, how do you handle that?
Oh gosh, patience. I hold the calm. Yeah, like I've only had maybe a handful of folks like that, and they've been on maybe from a platform. Maybe they're just starting out, and that's another thing too. Is like so. What I've done is I've honestly, if I get a guest on where I think the to drill it down exactly what it is like I'll ask a question. What you want as a host is you want somebody that just like you are doing right now. Ask me a question. He's not shutting up. Good, easy guest. It's entertaining. It's all good. That's what I want too as a host. Like I don't really want to talk. I already have my other show that I'm just talking nonstop. So when I ask I know right away if it's going to be one of those guests where it's like, oh, you're either a rookie or somebody pushed you into doing this or just something's a little off. You'll ask the question and they're like, yep, keep going.
Tell me more about that.
keep yes and then you're like coaching like improv where you're doing like
Yes,
yes
and
and yes and
right.
so what I've done is if you're starting out and you're just starting to get those guests on and you find that it's okay to pause and just say hit pause and go, hey, let's start over and here's if you and then I ask them like, are you new? And they go, oh yeah, this is my only second show. And I go, okay, I want you to talk. I don't want to talk very much. I'm trying to give you layup, and then maybe you adjust your questions and they're a little bit easier or something like that, or you just recalibrate. I think that's totally okay to do that because like only you know that it's live. You've paused the podcast. You can hit record again. We're using Zoom. I use Zoom too, or whatever you're using, Riverside. Um, and do that. But then there's the opposite. I don't know if you've had this. The opposite is like them starting to interview you. And I don't really like that because I'm like, I'm gonna go on Rory's show if I want to get interviewed. I'm the host, and I've had to tell people like, I'm the host. Politely, you're reminding them and stuff like that. Some of those episodes never aired, put it that way. Like you
Uh,
will, he reminds me of business. One of the lessons I learned in business is like you hear this you hear this thing all the time, and I just, having been in business for 15 years now, I'm like, that phrase is not true. The customer's always right. It's like, no, 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 because there's actually a statistic. It's with empirical data and all this other stuff. It's like 2% of customers will be unsatisfied no matter what. So
Hmm.
clearly the customer can't always be right. And that use of absolute language always bugs me anyway. Always, never, stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's not real. That's not life. Life is pretty gray and gooey, right? So you're gonna have those bad guests. If sometime maybe you want to like pivot even further with that bad guess and you want to go, hey, why don't we try this on a different day? And maybe we just email or talk about what you want to talk about in a different way. Like, I'll have you back on. I love helping people out that are trying to do things for the first time in their life. That's okay. I have children. That's parenting, right? Is like they've never walked. Here I am trying to help you or feed themselves. It's the same sort of thing in that kind of a way. And yeah, I'm not sure. I love this question, Rory, because it's like under the hood. We're pulling it from under the hood.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the other. I haven't had the interview one, so that's new to me. I haven't. I mean, I've had a couple people ask me some questions, but the opposite for me is the one where they literally just start talking, never stop, never take a breath, and I'm like, great. I mean, I don't have to do much. I can go have a sandwich, and come back. But by the same token, I mean, 40 minutes of just nonstop without taking a breath, and you're like, I, okay. I don't know if you've
That's what
had that one happen or not.
Well, I always worry about. Yes, I've had that one too. It's that one's a tricky one. You're like, you could probably see me on YouTube on a few of them. Just go and
Right.
like because I can't help it. I'm just like, I'm like sort of. I'm not Italian, but I'm sort of Italian in that way, where I'm just like always using my hands when I speak and everything. Yeah, I've had that one, and yeah, that's a little tricky. It's fun though, but it's fun. It's like, oh, then I get to go upstairs and laugh about it. Like I tell Alex, like, you won't believe this guest. It was so crazy or whatever. Here's one that I had. Can I talk about guesting in an awkward way?
Absolutely. Sure.
Okay. Not naming names. I don't think this episode's going to get published that I was on. I don't think so. Um, I had there was this podcast host pitched. They go like, okay, here's like 20 questions. Answer them in detail because that's why you're going to answer them on the show. And I'm a busy guy, so I'll be honest, I cheated because my chat GPT knows me. I've fed it
Wow.
my bio, I've fed it transcripts from shows, I've fed it lectures. It knows how to speak like me. And I go, answer these questions. It answers the questions. I fire it back in like 2 minutes. She didn't see through the bull crap, apparently, whatever. But her whole idea was, and I don't think this is true. You have to tell me, Rory, is she goes, because then the SEO will pick up, what you're saying, because then we make this into a blog. I do that. It's like 30 days later. This was leading up to an interview 30 days later. I get on the show with her. And I'm so busy. I forgot that exercise happened. So I get on ready. I get on ready to have a conversation like this, Rory. On the fly, talking, having fun, laughing.
Right.
She asks those same questions. I answer them totally differently because it's. I can tell she's getting frustrated, but I'm like, whatever. And I'm just like, I thought it was a good interview. And we get to the end, and she's so mad. And I go,
She's
look,
mad.
oh, she was pissed, really, really mad at me, like visibly angry. And I go, look, I don't you do this too often, Rory. I don't like get into a contest with people, but I had to on this one where it was like, look, you're on episode 7, I'm on episode 700. This is completely wacky what you're suggesting. And then I ended up like hanging up on her on the Zoom call. So it's just kind of like, again, like the 1-2% of times, like it's never going to be perfect. You're going to run into these very interesting anomalies. And the fact is, if anybody's really wondering, YouTube transcribes your podcasts already. Like it's already done. So you're going to get the SEO just by talking. You don't have to do this pre-recorded stuff. Thank you for shaking your head.
Right.
That's what I was wondering.
100%. 100%. I mean, that's a hilarious story, but unfortunately, I've heard too many that are very similar.
Really?
Yeah, and again, go back to people I've worked with and stuff like that. There are so many people who simply either have a preset set of questions and that's it, and that's all they're going to ask, and they don't have any back and forth at all,
Mm,
or they literally send you the questions, you do the answers, and honestly, they could just pre-record you if that's
yeah.
what they wanted to do. Like, hey, just record yourself doing this and send me the file. I'll post it and we'll call it an episode.
Hmm.
To me, that's not podcasting. You know what I mean? But I understand that some people operate that way, and it's unfortunate that we have that. But you're a better man than me because you did the GPT thing on it. If I would have had somebody send me 20 questions to answer these in depth, I would have said thank you, but I'm going to pass.
Yeah, and
I
that's
would have
what I
been
should
it.
have done.
I wouldn't have
Yeah.
even gone on because I'm like, if this is what I'm getting ready to go do, you know what? Yeah, no, thanks anyway. Yeah, I never would have tried to use chat to answer him though, and then tried to go back and that was brave. That
Thank you.
was
Well,
really something.
brave. I'm perfectly stupid sometimes. Sure, like like bravery and stupidity. It's always like a fine line, isn't it?
Right. It just, it
Yeah.
depends on where you are. But I love that story. That's one of the best parts, honestly, about having folks like you on who are experienced, been doing this for a while, is you have great stories. So I appreciate you sharing those with everybody.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, let me go ahead and get in my corny question, because I just need to commandeer the podcast for about 30 seconds.
Hmm.
But I do like the answers I get from this one. So in doing your podcast, what is it that you love the most about doing your podcast? And what is it that you just absolutely, positively hate the most about doing your
Oh
podcast?
man, nobody's ever asked me this. Fantastic. In particular with the original show Inside the Firm, it is a cathartic gateway to sometimes get my frustrations and anger out in public without naming names. It's just talking about like a process. I think we have a short on LinkedIn right now that our editor put out where it's like, are we the only ones who reply all on email? It might be like this autistic level question and concern, but it's like, it seems like it. Like, why can't we reply all? And sometimes you can't reply all, right? So that's I think one of the best things that I'm always reminded of. I'm like, oh, I got all that energy out. I'm not gonna go home and kick the dog. Thank goodness. If I had a dog. Uh, the thing I hate the most is probably the thing you have to do the most. It's like we're at episode 700, and yes, we still have more to talk about every week. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just constantly evolving. There's always new clients, new projects, and everything like that. But it does get to be a slog. Staying consistent for that long is it's a lot of discipline, it's a lot of energy. I don't want to let people down. People really wait for our show, especially in the architecture and engineering and construction community. Like they're on their edge of their seat waiting for the show every Friday when it publishes, which is, I'm so thankful for a loyal audience, right? That's what you're really after, is like a loyal audience that just, it's kind of cool to think about, like, if, oh, I have 5,000 people listening right now. Like, this is amazing. Like, on what planet, the new planet, right? So that's strangely the hardest part, I think, is just like staying consistently doing it, not giving up. When sometimes you're just like, I don't know, is it worth it? Because for us, it's, yes, we pay the bills, but we don't, it's not like I'm, buying Bentleys with the money.
Sure. Sure. Interesting. No, I love that. It's therapeutic, in so many ways.
Yeah.
So I get it. I really do get it. And yeah, anybody who's done 700 episodes is allowed to say that it's been a bit of a slog at times.
Yeah.
So you have a get out of jail free card for that one for sure. Lance, I love this. I really do. I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything that you have. As we kind of wrap things down here, let me just ask you this then. And again, with as many episodes as you have, I'm sure you could give all sorts of advice to podcasters on a lot of different topics. But what's the best piece of advice you can give to a podcaster who's just not quite where you are and, is just really trying to make it in this podcasting world?
It's doing what I just said, is with that I hate the most, is consistently. And
Yeah,
you just got to put yourself on a disciplined schedule of like, I don't care if you do one episode a month and that's your discipline, done. Do it. Like force yourself to do it. Or one every 2 weeks, or two like we do every 2 week or every week. You have to stay disciplined, because I think the statistics are something like most podcasts are like stop after 50, and then that's how there's something like this where there's like it's either
Sure.
50 or 100 or something like that. And it really isn't too big of an obstacle for you to actually kind of get into that. Like I'm a top 2%er because I'm consistent in it. You will find an audience. Believe me or not, you will find an audience. That's one of the most amazing things about Podmatch too, and is I'm like, there is a podcast about everything. It is just mind blowing to me. There's an audience for everything. You are a worthwhile human being. You have some value in the world at some reason, and if you have the guts to get in front of a mic, do it.
Right. Love it. Love that. Love that advice. Great way to close this up, sir. I appreciate it very much. Lance Cayko, serial entrepreneur. I mean, podcast host extraordinaire. I love everything you brought today. Thanks for just for having some fun, and going back and forth talking about, your exploits and what you've been dealing with. I wish you all the best, of course. Can't wait to talk to you again down the road. And I just want to thank you again for coming here and sharing all that today.
Thank you so much, Rory. This is fantastic.
Great. Thank you. Folks, this has been another awesome episode of the Podcaster Nation because this is the podcast that's about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. This is the place we come to lift each other up, folks, and, make each other great. This is the place where the rising tide truly, and again today, raises all ships. So please keep sailing.